Hello, class. Now we're going to discuss terms dealing with sound and image. All terminology definitions and examples are from the Glossary of Poetic Terms published by McGraw-Hill Higher Education in 2002. You may retrieve it, if you wish, at the website provided. Assonance. The repetition of similar vowel sounds in a sentence or in a line of poetry or prose, as in I rose and told him of my woe, the repetition of O. Listen to this line from Walt Whitman's poem, When I Heard the Learned Astronomer. It contains assonantal I's. How soon, unaccountable, I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself. Alliteration. The repetition of consonant sounds, especially at the beginning of words. Example: fetched fresh as I suppose off some sweet wood, from Hopkins in the valley of the Elway. Figurative language. A form of language use in which writers and speakers convey something other than the literal meaning of their words. Examples include hyperbole or exaggeration, and simile and metaphor, which employ comparison. Image. A concrete representation of a sense impression, a feeling, or an idea. Imagery refers to the pattern of related details in a work. In some works, one image predominates either by recurring throughout the work or by appearing at a critical point in the plot. Often writers use multiple images throughout a work to suggest states of feeling and to convey implications of thought and action. Image is often found in poetry. Some modern poets, such as Ezra Pound and William Carlos Williams, write poems that lack discursive explanation entirely and include only images. Among the most famous example is Pound's poem, In a Station of the Metro. The apparition of these faces in the crowd. Petals on a wet, black bough. This two-line poem compares the faces to petals, flower petals, on a wet, black tree branch. That's the entire poem. Imagery. The pattern of related comparative aspects of language, particularly of images, in a literary work. Imagery of light and darkness pervade James Joyce's story Araby, the boarding house, and the dead. So too does religious imagery. Images like water represent rebirth and life. The repetition of items in threes or in the number of three represents the Trinity. Metaphor is probably a term you're already familiar with. It's a comparison between essentially unlike things, without an explicitly comparative word such as like or as. An example is, My love is a red, red rose, from Burns' A Red, Red Rose. Langston Hughes' Dream Deferred is built entirely of metaphors. Metaphor is one of the most important of literary devices. Shakespeare employs a wide range of metaphor in his sonnets and his plays. Like metaphor, you're probably also familiar with the term simile. A simile is a figure of speech involving a comparison, again, between unlike things, but this time it uses the terms like, as, or as though. An example, My love is like a red, red rose. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is the use of words to imitate the sounds they describe. Words such as buzz and crack are onomatopoeic. The following line from Pope's Sound and Sense onomatopoeically imitates in sound what it describes. When Ajax strives some rock's vast weight to throw, the line too labors, and the words move slow. Most often, however, onomatopoeia refers to words and groups of words, such as Tennyson's description of the murmur of innumerable bees, which attempts to capture the sound of a swarm of bees buzzing. Personification, like simile and metaphor, is probably a term you're already familiar with. It is the endowment of inanimate objects or of abstract concepts with animate or living qualities. An example would be, the yellow leaves flaunted their color gaily in the breeze. Wordsworth's I wandered lonely as a cloud includes personification. A symbol is an object or action in a literary work that means more than itself, that stands for something beyond itself. The glass unicorn in the Glass Menagerie, the rocking horse and the rocking horse winner, the road in Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken are all symbols. An allegory is a symbolic narrative in which the surface details imply a secondary meaning. Allegory often takes the form of a story, in which the characters represent moral qualities. The most famous example in English is John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, in which the name of the central character, Pilgrim, epitomizes the book's allegorical nature. Kay Boyle's story Astronomer's Wife and Christina Rossetti's poem Uphill both contain allegorical elements. Allegory can either be found in poetry or in prose. Now let's review. You've been given quite a few terms that deal with sound and image. Many of these terms can apply to poetry or prose. Some of these terms are familiar and some are entirely new. It's time now for you to review with whatever method suits you best, so that you will be ready for the summative assessment at the end of the unit. When you are ready, continue to the next set of terms.